Hello.
Hi.
Howdy.
Kevin.
Hello.
Special guest. Welcome to another pandemic special episode of Hugo Girl the
2 years of
podcast.
pandemic.
Yeah,
2 years.
we're not celebrating.
Commemorating.
Marking.
We've just decided in America that the pandemic's over.
We're addressing it.
We watched Station 11. And some listeners may know, and if you're new, here's some news. In 2020, we read Station 11 and we recorded a social distancing special when we still thought it was 15 days to flatten the curve. And one of our nice listeners, Benjamin, listened to that episode recently and described it as an amazing historical artifact.
It really was. I tried to listen to it and I couldn't get past where we were like, I'm so excited for the Zoom birthday that we're about to have.
Oh my God.
And then we just stopped having Zoom birthdays because I was like, oh, I hate this. I hate everything.
I went to a Zoom public defender meeting today, and I just don't know how we've done 2 years of Zoom, and there's still always someone who's not muted and interrupts the entire thing.
Oh, Kevin, I was a hair's breadth away from flushing the toilet while my mic was on during a work call the other day. I had my little wireless earbuds in, and I was going about my life while the meeting was going. I was listening. And I sort of meandered over to the bathroom, and I was like, wait a moment, let me double check this. I was like, pants were, like, my waistband was in my hands. I was like, let me go check that real
That's why
quick.
I always use my laptop that has physical kill switches for the microphone and camera.
Physical kill switches.
So-
That's the name of my next band.
I am used to using Zoom, and when you sign on to Zoom, usually it's automatically muted when you sign in, and I'm used to that. Got a little spoiled. I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago on Teams, which is by far
Garbage.
the worst meeting platform.
Oh, we use that a lot of work.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So basically the people who had sent me the meeting request were late, and they had originally done it as a conference call and they weren't answering the conference call. And then I got on the I got on the Teams link and they weren't there, and I was getting increasingly frustrated. And then as I was signing in, it was like waiting for the host to admit you. And I was like, still. And I said out loud, this is fucking ridiculous. And then I realized, like, I was in the Teams meeting.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was like, well, it's okay. I'm muted. And I was not muted.
No.
So guess what, everybody? Teams, it doesn't mute you upon entry.
I know that
And
now.
the people I was meeting with, if they heard me, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't. They didn't say anything.
Maybe they didn't know you were talking about that. You
I'm-
could have spilt some coffee on your pants and been like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Completely. Maybe I had 11 children biting my ankles.
You don't know.
It could have been anything. But 2 years into the pandemic, warning, Teams does not automatically mute you.
One time, I farted really loudly while I was muted, and then it was like, do you want to unmute? Are you talking?
Oh, like, did you get a little,
It detected sound, and it was like, Haley, do you want to go on? No, I don't want to unmute. I am lucky that it didn't happen
just
off
for
mute.
me.
Honestly,
It's just for me.
that alert is like reassuring because then
I
you know
know.
no one heard it.
Because sometimes, it could have been bad.
Bless.
All right, this show. What do you think about this show, guys?
I really liked it. I thought that there was moments where it went a little bit off the rails in some ways, but for the most part, I really, really liked it.
I thought it was beautiful, and I loved it.
I kind of hated it.
I don't want to say it's terrible because obviously people like it, but for me, it was terrible. I would have stopped after the second episode if we were not doing
Second
the
episode?
podcast.
Felt
Damn.
about Ringworld.
Yeah, I even after the first episode, I was like,
What didn't you like about it?
So, how much time do you have?
Other people want to talk, Lori, so.
Well, you asked me, so that's why I checked. So here's the thing. I didn't only hate it. I thought there were parts of it that were really good. There were things about it that I really liked. There were scenes that I thought were really beautiful. But overall, I don't want to be the book was better person. But I felt like Emily wrote a good story and that made sense for the most part. And I felt like a lot of the stuff in the show just didn't make sense. And I was okay with like the condensing the storylines, like all that makes sense to save space for television. I thought that was fine. And I liked combining Jeevan and Kirsten's storylines, but I just thought so many things just didn't make a lot of sense. And like from episode 1, so Jeevan in the book runs up on the stage to help Arthur because he's in paramedic training.
Right.
And in the show,
Yeah.
there's no reason that he did that.
He just stands there.
And it doesn't fit with his character because he's so deeply anxious and like not confident and worried about everything. And had he had the like requisite training to recognize a heart attack and act, that would still make sense. But
Does he not mention that he's a paramedic in the show?
no, dude, no.
But that doesn't preclude it, though.
I thought he did.
It doesn't, but it doesn't make sense with his character. Why is he the person?
But he goes on to become a doctor, though. I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah, but not really. And like even at the time, the guy says the actual paramedics like, "Do you know CPR?" And he's just like, "Nope," and backs
That's
away.
true.
And then the meeting with Kirsten is really kind of weird and creepy because he's just like, "Hey, little girl, I'll go talk to you," as opposed to like I will say I don't remember a lot of details of the book. I remember that they were kind of like shuffled off together and we're just kind of like happen to be there and we're like, hey.
I guess with his character, for me, it's like he's this person who has this very big urge to be a caregiver, but he's got a lot of anxiety and self-doubt. And so a lot of what he does comes off very awkward and not well thought out because he's got these impulses, but he doesn't quite know like how to follow through on them well. And he doesn't trust himself and he doesn't like himself. So it's like, so a lot of what he did, I read in that context. And so it made less creepy to me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to lay aside any notions of creepiness whenever a man character hangs out with a child. I mean, you just have to. And like, even in the last episode, I was like, are they going to kiss? Please don't let
I was
them
so
kiss.
worried about it.
Oh, really?
I was a little worried.
I mean, I knew they wouldn't.
I wasn't really worried about it, but I was like,
Yeah.
I was crying buckets,
it
man.
could have
I
happened.
cried 3 times last episode.
So I thought that the confusion in the first episode, of course, I wouldn't have had it had I not read the book and known that he had been in paramedic school.
Yeah.
But I thought I would still wonder, like, why did he do this? So when we found out that he had a sister who was a doctor who did not exist in the book,
Right.
I kept waiting for her to say something about, like, my cruddy brother Jeevan who, like, dropped out of med school after a semester. Just something like one line like that would have sort of retroactively made all of that make sense. And I just thought it would have been so easy to make it make more sense, and they chose not to do it for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued that you even thought about, like, I didn't even remember that he was supposed to be a paramedic. I was just like, he was just concerned.
I think since I knew he was a paramedic or had been a paramedic in the book, I just assumed he was in the show. And so I sort of glossed it over in my mind. So I think I didn't even catch that they never even mentioned it. I think that part doesn't make sense when you put it that way. The other part that doesn't make a lot of sense to me is that, oh crap, I'm going to forget, David Cross's character.
Oh, yeah, you can just call him Tobias Funke.
Tobias Funke, the Never Nude. I'm just assuming, like, the Vulture recaps, she mentions that to her, he'll always be wearing denim shorts under
Yes.
whatever
Never Nude.
costume he's But his character gets killed in this really violent, awful way, and they never talk about it. Like,
No.
like they just sort of, it's just fine.
Yeah, that was another big issue that I had where I keep saying, like, that it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't make sense, and it didn't make sense to me. After reading some of the Vulture recaps, I understood why Kirsten chose to later on go with the Prophet, because she felt like this is the only way I can find my family.
Yeah, right.
But then she becomes, like, really aligned with him, and no one is ever like, he murdered Tobias Funke and those little kids. So in reading about this, I was super confused about it, and I thought, maybe it's me. And so I did some Googling, and I found a Reddit thread where it says the Prophet said someone else did it. And it goes back to blaming Kirsten. So she stabbed him. He was out of commission. So he says, I lost control of the story, and Haley had them do that. Who's Haley?
Haley's the one she gives the book to.
The dirty little girl at the end.
Oh,
It's me too.
So
and also you.
it's Haley slander. So I just thought, like, he said that it wasn't him, but why do we believe him? And also, if you're the one who gave the 10-year-olds a bag full of landmines, whatever they do with them is ultimately your fault, sir.
Yes.
And going back to the early things that don't make sense, she like seems amazed that because she had her like giant butcher knife, her K-bar wilderness knife, like at his throat,
Her K-bar wilderness
and
knife,
then
everyone.
stabbed him with her like tiny little backup knife in the stomach, and then was like
Why didn't that work?
amazed that he didn't die. Like,
She stabbed him in his adipose and was like, why didn't he die from that?
I don't know. In a world with no antibiotics.
Fair.
Well, I think he should have died. I was surprised when she found him in that little tower, and he like looked clean, and his wound was just like kind of pink. And I kept wondering, why is he so clean and all those children are like fresh from the
Filthy.
mud bath?
Y'all ever seen a kid? They're pretty dirty.
That's true. He actually might care about keeping himself clean, and they just don't.
Those are his child soldiers.
But
He
I
should
will-
have them take a bath.
But they're all post pans, as they call them in the show.
Yeah.
So like they may not. Their sense of cleanliness and hygiene and what to do for society is very different than someone who actually lived in previous. I think
He's their weird cult leader, Uncle Daddy. He's got to teach them to rinse off.
he should, but he didn't, Lauren.
No one wants to set off a landmine while they're dirty. Won't you be embarrassed when the paramedics arrive? Didn't your mother tell you put
Wear
on clean
clean
underwear just in case you end up blowing up a landmine on Tobias Funke?
Yeah, no, I say this a lot, and I mean it. I am bad at TV. Like, I don't watch TV like you guys watch TV, and I don't have a lot of critical thoughts about it usually. Like, I usually just get a feel for something, and I liked the way that it was shot. I liked the characters a lot. I like spending time with them. I didn't really analyze their motives too hard. So.
I was the same. I really love the show. I wish we had gotten a little more of Jivan's storyline, but
I love that he became a doctor too.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things I watch that I'm willing to forgive a lot of plot holes and things. Like a lot of times when we we'll watch Doctor Who or something, and Lori's like, "Why does that make sense?" And I'm like, "I don't know, just go with it." Because if I like the characters, if I like the setting, if I like the story that it's telling, I'll like overlook some of these plot holes. But I didn't like most of the acting. I again don't remember the details. I remember really liking Kirsten in the book. And in the show, she's just like walking around everywhere looking confused with her mouth open going, "No, we can't do that."
She is very like resistant to have anything happen, I guess, in the book. But I didn't find her wildly different than the book character.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. All the characters seemed pretty much to be the book characters to me. I liked the acting.
I read the book twice, and I can never remember what happens in it.
That
so.
little girl did an amazing job. The baby Kirsten, I thought
she was
amazing.
good.
Yeah,
She was good.
I also liked the acting, and I liked watching the show. I went back and listened to the audiobook at speed, so I didn't in depth listen to it, but I listened to it at 1.5 speed, and I got the gist. And the show helped me sort of look back at the memory issues that Kirsten has, because when we were first watching it and we first saw adult Kirsten, and she said something about Jivan and my little brother Frank, and I was like, why did she lie? Mm-hmm. And then when I went back and I started listening, and she had so much memory loss from right after the pandemic happened, and I thought it was very interesting. At that point, I realized she's not lying. That's in her mind, the space where little brother is filled with Frank because he was Jivan's little brother. And so I thought that was really interesting. I did like the performances. I liked Jivan a lot, even though I was annoyed that they just didn't throw in one line for his medical interests or medical knowledge. Because that's something I like about the book, how he goes from a partially trained EMT to being a doctor.
Yeah.
I like that arc for him.
Which
so
makes sense,
I'm a
too.
little frustrated that they took away just that little detail that would have made the whole arc make more sense and sort of feel like a full circle for him.
Yeah.
Especially, it would have really been even more effective because the sister was the doctor, the brother was the Pulitzer Prize winning author. These are very high achieving siblings, and he's the one who couldn't make it, didn't make it. And then through the end of this, he's the one who survives and comes out a doctor. So I feel like that was really an opportunity area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I should say shouldn't say I didn't like any of the acting. I liked. Yeah,
Well, you already said it,
young
Kevin.
Kirsten
So
and Jivan, but yeah,
No takebacks.
mostly just not Mackenzie Davis. And I guess since she is supposed to be the anchor character for us, it kind of
Oh,
tainted
I love
the
her.
rest of.
I loved her too.
Yeah, she's
I thought
great.
she did it great.
She's great in *Halt and Catch Fire*. She's great in *The Terminator*.
She was great in that one with Kristen Stewart.
the gay movie.
That's
yeah.
right.
I love anything that woman does. So yeah.
I liked her. I thought she did a good job of embodying somebody who's deeply traumatized.
Yes.
She's in survival mode constantly, which will bring
Until
me
the end.
Yeah.
will bring me to another moment where I thought it doesn't make any sense to me how she decided to trust the prophet when she hears a leaf fall in the forest and her reaction is to spin around and start throwing knives. And then he's like, help me sneak into this facility where all your friends are. And she's like, okay.
Because she she said, like, very, like, point blank, she's like, the only thing that matters is my family, and she'll do anything to get there.
Yeah, but she could just kill him once they got there.
Yeah, I didn't get quite why she didn't kill him when they got there, or why she didn't just give him over to them.
Yeah, and say, like, he's a murderer. He's not really an actor. They did that whole scene.
I think she might be concerned that there's the murderous children lurking around, and that if she did something, that they might do.
There was always hanging over the head that if he goes missing, then like they commit war on them.
Yeah.
So I think like she was stuck in this like hard place, and also I think in a life where 99% of humanity has been destroyed, it's hard to even kill a murderer. Probably. I mean,
she's already killed people.
Oh yeah, but like, what's
for-
another one?
I disagree. I think life is very cheap in this world, like because they don't care about Tobias Funke's death at all.
Well, on screen,
And he was like their uncle.
I know.
They had that like morning scene when they're all getting drunk, and so they at least addressed that.
I guess.
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess. I thought they dealt somewhat with his death, but not the fact that it was a murder of him and at least 2, maybe 3 very dirty children. Those children became very dirty very fast.
I mean, I guess you get used to crazy people doing crazy things in this world, so maybe it just doesn't like resonate as much.
I think he's also very charming, like a lot of like cult leaders tend to be, maybe. So I don't know.
He is very Charles Manson.
I mean, I don't love that they hung out, but like, I'm not like staying up at night thinking about it either. So.
He was also traumatized, though. Let's not forget.
Oh yeah, no, he was deeply, deeply traumatized.
But counterpoint to life being cheap, how many times does Kirsten go sailing off after that little monster Alexandra? Listen, please let her die.
No, she loves her.
I don't care. She's awful. And she's a grown woman. If she wants to run away with a cult leader and be his weird teen bride, she can do that.
Everybody seems so like stunted in a way.
Oh,
like
yeah.
she's 20 in theory. She's about 20 or 18 or something.
Yeah.
You know,
But she raised her though.
Well, I was going to say that, part of what her Alex's, obnoxious ways of being, part of what that is just sort of just teenage rebellion. But I feel like she's old enough that that maybe should have been out of her system by the time we got to where we are in this story. But I mean,
She didn't go to school.
yeah, she's just stunted. I
She
guess.
fully shifts alliances like however the wind blows. Like, I'm going to run away with the prophet. Then I didn't run away with the prophet because I'm so bad at riding my horse that I fell off my horse. And so now I'm back with my family, and now I'm mad at Kirsten because Kirsten went camping with the prophet. And now I'm going to give the prophet a hunting knife to kill his mom on stage. I was like, whoa.
Oh, I don't think she thought he was going to kill her.
What? What else would he do with the big knife?
He was Hamlet. He needed a knife.
I mean, surely they have non-lethal props that they give to known murderers.
I don't think that
did I
probably
miss
doesn't come up a lot.
I don't know Hamlet that well, but everyone seemed shocked when he had a weapon, so I
That's
don't
true.
think that was part of.
I
the
thought it was
scene.
supposed to be like a. I guess now that I think about it, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
And also within that episode, as far as switching alliances, she went from I want to stay here for at least a year to riding off with the prophet for
Yeah, that's true.
no
That's true.
apparent.
And she also really loved Elizabeth, and then if you're right, then she gave him a knife to kill her, like in the same day.
And she rode off on Kirsten's horse, Luli.
Kristen must have given it to her.
She's a horse thief.
I think that was probably she gave it to her.
Maybe.
Speaking of Jivan's journey, can we talk about the birthing center? I was not ready. There's a whole birth in that that show.
Amy, that episode, I thought that episode was ludicrous, and also I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought both of those things.
Yes.
I liked it,
Yeah.
but I was like, this is ludicrous. From the moment the doctor was like, all these women are prenatally synchronized, and I was like, nope, that's not a thing.
Everybody's a little crazy, and so like
She's a doctor, and she's like, they're all
crazy and
prenatally.
a doctor.
But she was right. They did all have their babies in housewares at the same time.
Except for that one that apparently had a C-section.
You know, I bet there was a baby boom like the first week or two that society started to crumble. People were just fucking.
Well, it's funny she mentioned that and
She
then
did.
was like,
Yeah.
but that's not true. It didn't happen like in the previous historical event that she referred to. And she's like, people always talk about the baby boom. And it didn't happen. But she didn't say they're all due at the same time. She said they're prenatally synchronized. And I was like, if you hang out with your pregnant friend, I don't think it makes your baby's brain develop faster. Like, I don't think that's a thing.
Maybe it just means they're all 9 months pregnant.
I liked Jivan walking around with Grey's Anatomy. Like that particular book is going to help you in any way during a
so
childbirth.
funny. But I did like that episode, and the scene that you're talking about, Amy. I was like, Jeevan and this woman are like doctor patient vibing. Like there's just like, it was so emotional and it was like scary and intense. And he was like finally rising to an occasion. And I was like, oh, this is beautiful kind of. And then I was like, oh, there's a whole rupturing vagina. And I screamed. I screamed and I hid my face. And then I immediately felt like a misogynist. I felt very bad about my reaction.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, I was cross-stitching while I was watching this. And so, like, I was like...
You punch a hole in your fabric.
So I was like, I was looking down at my little cross-stitch, and I was looking up, and Jivan was talking to the woman, being very supportive and doing wonderful. And I looked down and put a stitch in, and I looked up, and there was a vagina. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, you just don't like body stuff. It's okay.
It's a little body horror.
I mean, I
Even people who have given birth and love their children would say it's a little body horror.
Yeah, I just like, I can't help but think about myself.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have a vagina, it's going to resonate with
it's
you.
It's okay to be like, that would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It looked so uncomfortable. And then I was like, was that real? Did they like cut in footage from the Miracle of Life, or like was that real? Is it a prosthetic? What was it? I don't know. Because guess what? I looked away immediately.
In my
only a
mind,
second,
it's
so.
some sort of practical effect where they like shoved a fake baby through a fake vagina and made it look real. Like it was.
Because honestly, I think in real life, it's probably more traumatic than what we saw. There's probably blood.
There's poop.
Yeah.
Oh, there's poop. There's blood. There's liquids coming out. I mean, there's like
Trigger warning.
Yeah. There's a whole sack around the baby that has to
come out.
break.
I said the same thing. Well, I said too, I think you have to like pass an afterbirth.
You do.
After you have the baby.
yeah.
So like they would catch the baby and then just be like, peace, and walk away. Oh, and I love the one where the one woman was having twins and they hand off the first twin to the woman who ends up Jeevan's wife or partner. And then they're like, we're good, you can go. And I was like, but who's going to catch the second one? Like, you can't catch a baby while you're already holding.
She gave the first baby to Jeevan.
Yeah. And then another pregnant lady came up and was like, I'll help you.
He gave it back. He gave it back.
There's somebody else there, though.
Oh, yeah, because he started to get up and walk away. And it was funny. She was like, Jeevan, the baby. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he hands the baby back. And then she's like, I got the next one. And I was like, she's quite a catcher, I guess.
I mean, I guess you can catch a baby.
I mean, in some civilizations, you give birth squatting. Like, that's like a more natural way to do it.
In this civilization, you do that sometimes.
Well, most of them were in beds, which I thought was kind of surprising. Oh, but I like how they were a full service birthing center because you could give birth in a waiting pool if you wanted to. You could give birth in a bed. You could die in childbirth in a bed. You could give birth just in housewares squatting, like the lady who had the twins in a Ross.
Yeah.
Was it a Ross? Was it a TJ Maxx?
Yeah, something like that.
So part of why I like this show so much, and like, yes, there are things that don't make sense. I guess that's true. But so I spent the 4th of July 2020 playing 2 video games, The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2, which is a video game set in the post-apocalypse. There's a mushroom zombie type thing that happens. And like, you get to spend so much time in formerly spaces that were, museums that have been overtaken by nature. And like, you get to scavenge for food and look for, alcohol to cleanse your wounds with when you're hunting zombies. And so like, it just gave me such good reminiscences of playing that video game. And that video game is being adapted to a live action show, which is coming out the next year or two.
I've heard a lot of good things about that game.
The game is so fun.
Yeah.
I've tried playing it again just because I want to recapture it. And you can never play the same game the same way. So I think part of my love for the show just stems from like what I know is coming with The Last of Us TV series. So
I purchased a PlayStation and played it twice. That was one of the things I thought I would do with my pandemic. Speaking of recapping the pandemic here in our 2-year anniversary episode, I bought a PlayStation and then played it twice.
Huh.
The problem is, both times I played it for 6 hours. And I was like, I can't do this.
I play in spurts. There's a video game coming out sometime this year called Stray, where you're like a cat living in like a cyberpunk future, and you just go on adventures.
That sounds fun.
I know it's an orange cat too, so I look forward to that. But I've been in a little bit of a slump playing games recently, so
I'd like to try again. But I need a full day where I don't have to do anything.
Well, if you like Mischievous Animals, Untitled Goose Game is good.
That's on the PlayStation.
Yeah, that one's fun.
That was very fun to watch. I'm not a video game player, but I enjoyed watching Kevin be a rude goose.
Oh, goose. I liked all of the costumes in this movie. So at one point they're doing Hamlet, and like there's an entire cape made of golf gloves.
I loved it. I did love that.
That was very cool. The play stuff is very cool. Like,
Well, yeah, and like so much. I think I would enjoy this show and book more if I knew more about theater, because like Emily Mandel's a theater gal, and like so much of it is about the importance of theater, and I literally never go see plays, so I feel like a little bit's lost on me probably. But
yeah, I get it. You know, I don't understand why. Well, they talk about it in the show, but I don't quite understand why they would only do Shakespeare. But
I think because it's easy to
hate
get.
Shakespeare.
But well, you hate Shakespeare.
I hate Shakespeare.
love Shakespeare. This was like inspired me to go to the Shakespeare Tavern again. But because it's timeless, it's universal. Even though you hate it, it's been performed for 600 years. So
I will say that the
500,
show,
400.
I did like all the play scenes. I loved the costumes. I agree with you that I thought it was beautifully shot, especially the cutaway scenes where plants had overtaken the
Yeah,
cities. I thought they were really beautiful. And I also think that this show gave me maybe more of an appreciation for Hamlet, because it is really the first time I've seen it performed where they spoke slow enough
Yes,
that I
yeah.
could really understand, because Shakespeare performance is usually so fast. And to hear them actually talking and to have the backdrop where like this whole relationship has
Yeah.
been set up with the, I don't really think she's wicked, but the sort of wickedly positioned mother and the friend of the father / brother of the father, who's
Yeah.
now the mom's kind of
Oh, Clark.
life partner, not like that, but they have a partnership as leaders at the airport. So all of that kind of helped inform it. And then when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I get what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think I've read Hamlet and I've seen Hamlet, but I really felt like I understood it better watching it like this. So that was a good thing.
I agree. I liked it more watching this. I didn't have to sit through all of Hamlet, so that probably helped. But I did enjoy the play scenes, even though it was Shakespeare.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm trying to think of other plays that would survive the apocalypse that everybody would want to see. Like, I don't know, The Iceman Cometh. I don't know. Like Shakespeare is just universal. The
Well, and I think at that point, like you want anything. You want any entertainment.
Like, please just
Hamilton.
dance in front
It's
of
going to
me.
be Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Hamilton, the mashup.
Oh, can I just tour doing Hamilton? That'd be great.
Did you guys, so the book ended, I felt like the book ended on this sort of optimistic note. Did you guys get a feeling of optimism from the show?
Yeah.
Life goes on. Yeah.
I got a feeling of happiness that we didn't have to watch it anymore. Because I also thought the final episode was full of really hitting you over the head with the theme and things that didn't make sense. So
Okay.
I did also feel sort of hit over the head with the theme, but I enjoyed the play scene. I enjoyed the costumes, but I was like, really, Clark is Claudius? Okay. And also I was like, Clark just got like 3rd-degree burns yesterday. And he's like, I'm going to get up and be in the play.
Clark was ridiculous to me.
Well, and I really like Clark in the book. Do you
I did
remember
too.
Clark?
Ugh.
He does the half shave, which obviously speaks to me. He shaves half his head. He puts on his little scarf and he's like,
Finally himself.
I'm about to go be the Clark I've always wanted to be
Yeah.
and not the corporate world Clark. And this Clark, well, it was very silly when he was like, we can't perform Hamlet. What if the children get ideas about rebelling? And I was like, sir.
Yeah, he was sort of comically that guy by the end. And
Well,
Yeah.
you have to be like life is. I mean, they have to keep everything like they had that hallway of the years, and like if they lose 4 kids, that's like an electrical engineer they don't get. You know, like it's.
I mean, I get the impulse. I do. And I don't know if he's just, I don't see him as like just this like purely villainous character. Or
Not
anything.
at all.
But he was much harder to like in the show than he was in the book.
I don't remember him from the book at all.
I just thought
He's
it
Uncle
was
Clark.
a little cartoonish for him to be like, the children can't see Hamlet.
Yeah.
They'll start thinking about stuff. And I was just like, really? And then all of a sudden he's like, I have to be Claudius.
Well, but he played Claudius, though. Makes sense.
But he didn't even want it to like be on. And then when was it when he found out that Tyler David was going to be Hamlet? Then he wanted to be Claudius. And I was like, well, you just really want to make this very on the nose, I guess.
Yeah, it was very on the nose. Oh, yeah.
But I enjoyed the scene, even though I thought like the lead up to it was goofy. I liked the scene. I thought it was well acted. The costumes are beautiful. The lighting is beautiful.
Lighting is
Since
great.
you don't have any like overhead lighting in most of these scenes, the natural light or the candlelight is really beautiful.
There was one time they were sitting around and there was like full sunlight coming in one of the windows in the Severn City Airport, and they were sitting there with candles on the table. And I was like, why are they doing that? They're wasting their candles in the daytime.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the never-ending Zippo lighter.
Oh, yeah. Where? Lori, where did he get the fuel?
And apparently that kind of gas evaporates, so it's not even like we only saw him flicking it, but the remainder of the 20 years he wasn't flicking it. Like, if he's been carrying it around that whole time, the Go ahead,
I
Kevin.
would just say, yeah, if you leave that in your pocket for like a week or less, it all evaporates and you have to refill it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why he's got all those little kids there carrying his backup butane.
Maybe for 20 years, all he did was hoard butane.
Is it butane?
No, it's
whatever.
actually a liquid fuel, and there's cotton batting inside the Zippo, so you soak the cotton batting in the fuel, and then
Yes.
it goes up the wick, which is why it just like goes up the wick and evaporates.
Oh, interesting.
Science.
Well, somebody didn't have a Zippo consultant on this show. I don't know how you couldn't have cried during the last episode when Miranda calls
calls the
Hugo in
pilot,
the
yeah.
plane. I thought that was very moving.
Oh, I'm going to sit back and let Kevin take that.
That's, yeah, when Miranda's friend was like, oh, the FAA site updated, and here's the pilot's name, and just look up his personal fucking
They're
phone
logistics
number
people. That's what they do.
I get you. I don't think logistics gets you FAA records of pilots
No,
and
when
their
he
personal
said
phone numbers from
You don't know what they are. You a
whoismynumber.com.
logistics person?
when he said his name was Hugo after Hurricane Hugo, I laughed out loud. I was like, you don't have to make everything a flat circle. I mean, a lot of things, like we've already had enough intersections in this story. That was a bridge too far.
Yeah, and I'd already read recaps of all the episodes to be like, is this going to get better? So I knew she was going to call him, and I was like, this is going to be ridiculous. And also, lock the doors and don't let them out. You can't lock airplane doors.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to be able to open them in an emergency, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah. Okay. All right. I never considered breaking out of or imprisoning anyone in an elevator.
Euphemistically.
I'm sure she was, but like the point being,
The point being, Kevin's going to take it literally, and that's it.
He's
Yes.
fact-checked. The show couldn't happen, so.
but like,
This could never happen.
had a violent anti-masker been like, no, I'm getting off, he could have just popped the emergency slide. And
Well, somebody did get off, as we know, so they didn't really lock the doors.
And now that we know how people act in this situation, the Gitchy Gumi air would have had an exodus after about 90 minutes.
Unless they were already dying.
Yeah, then the people who were still standing would have been out of there.
I guess my point being, her talking to the pilot was both not really possible and did not have any effect on the outcome of the situation. So it was just like purely emotional manipulation.
I thought it was possible given their job, because they are definitely implied over and over and over again that this is what they do. They have connections, these people, with these airlines and like what blah blah blah. And it also, what do you mean it didn't have an effect on the situation?
Because nothing she did would prevent anyone from getting off the plane. Like,
Yeah, she had to convince the pilot.
Even if they'd still gotten out, I still would have cried because she was trying her best to save
Yeah, it was like
people she loved in
that
a place.
was the point of the
Well,
scene.
and I
Yeah.
will push back on that a little. Like, I thought it was as silly as you did, but I think what he did, you can't physically lock them in, but he comes over the intercom and he's like, gonna be just a little bit longer, folks. And so that, he's kind of like mollifying people, like, we'll
Until
come around with
it's-
the beverage cart and it's gonna be like a couple more hours, knowing that, like, probably we're all just gonna die in that time period and then I won't have to, like, physically keep people in. I do wonder why that one guy took so long to stagger out. I mean, it had been days. But yeah, I think that was,
I wondered if he was sick in there.
Probably
better.
because there's a 99% death rate, so he was probably the only one that lived past a day or two.
Yeah, I just wonder why he
So,
didn't come
also,
out.
counterpoint, Kevin, what was the last show that emotionally impressed you?
Squid Game?
Oh, I didn't get past episode 3.
Oh, yeah, I
Game.
refuse to watch that.
Oh, no.
I liked the 3 episodes I watched. I just didn't
I have
get
no
back.
desire to watch Squid Game.
Oh, no, yeah. I started crying during the Dice? Was it Dice?
I don't know.
The one with old
Oh,
Sir.
yeah.
Yeah.
I only watched through the cookie one, where they have to lick. He licks the cookie.
I just don't want to watch a movie where people kill each other.
That's fair.
yeah.
That's fair. Except for they, yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah, no, I don't. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry y'all had to watch this if y'all hated it so much.
I do think that I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. I mean, we, the part of our show from before the 2 years ago show that I did listen to was like, we talked about good things from the pandemic, before we got started talking about the book. And we have seen that people have the capacity to be really obnoxious assholes, and people also have the capacity to be truly selfless and do things that help others. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that even if the plane did figure out what was going on, they would have stayed put I don't think it's outside the realm of possible.
I guess part of it, like I read an interview with the showrunner and he kept saying things like, well, we made this change from the book because that's just good TV and did this because this is just good TV. And a lot of things felt like he came from the angle of what's going to make good TV versus what's going to tell a good story and actually like come together in a satisfying way.
That is frustrating.
I loved the airport episode. The first, it was like episode 5, I think, maybe the one that was fully in the airport. I liked that one a lot.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was frustrating to me about the show is that I felt that it was either so good or the opposite
Off
of
the rail.
so good. Yeah. And I would almost rather watch like a show that I felt like was just meh. But when it had like these strong moments, I'd be like, all right, sometimes the show starts a little weaker and then it gets stronger. You stay with it and it gets better. And I just felt like within the course of one episode, there would be things that made me like, and kind of like facepalm. And then there would be moments where I was like about to cry. And so it was kind of a roller coaster of good and bad. And like I said, I didn't hate it, but overall, I would say I didn't enjoy the show, but it had moments that I thought were great. So it's confusing.
I didn't always love hanging out with Kirsten. She was difficult sometimes.
I loved every single minute of it.
I did love the part where Jeevan gets attacked by the wolf and it's clearly someone from off camera throwing a giant wolf dummy at him.
Also, wolves don't really attack people. Like, that's an unfair wolf stereotype. It is. It is. A wild wolf is usually going to like run away and hide from you. Isn't it? Isn't that true?
Who knows what happens in
I
the
don't live in the
post-apocalyptic world,
I mean, I feel like that wolf doesn't have to contend with like traffic and like scarcity. I feel like in the post-apocalypse, the wolves are... nature is going to do what it needs to do.
Nature is healing.
Yeah, totally. And I just don't think that like eating Jeevan is part of healing. But hey.
I will say that, this is something just popped in my head. It's not related, but if you guys get a chance, you should go online and find the person who put together the Station 11 graphic novel in the book. Posted all the pages on Twitter at some point, and they're beautiful. Like she did a really, really good job.
I would like to watch a show about like of the graphic novel.
I liked when the characters were dead, they would see Dr. 11.
Yeah. I think it was like, what was it, the vulture thing where she was like, it makes them feel calm or like it makes them feel...
Yeah, well, and I like that there's a lot of time you spend with the dead characters and like them talking to them, whether they're on screen or not. They're just like, because at one point, like, I think it was when Frank is dying, Jeevan is just like screaming to his sister. Like he's still just talking to her. So,
Yeah.
So
I'm going to link the graphic novel pages in our notes.
Yeah.
It's worth checking out.
Great. I love when Jeevan looks at Station 11 and is like, they're so pretentious.
So watching the show has inspired me to start writing again, which I've not done in a long time. Cute. But because there's one point where they lose the power and they're like in a high rise in Chicago in the winter and it's fucking cold as shit. And they're probably down to just eating like canned food. And there's just like a frozen can of beans.
I love it. Because that's how beans come out.
Well, exactly.
Like a big poop out of the can.
So like my joy of this movie or the show is like these little tiny moments. Like I also don't think too critically about anything that I watch. That's why I like almost every movie.
I mean, I do.
Yeah. So but like there's just like those little glimpses into like what life would be and how things are structured. Like even when the world's falling apart and Jeevan goes and gets 3 grocery carts worth of food. Like that is I did that like March 12th last year. I woke up at 5:30 early. I still have powdered milk that is now expired.
I have a lot of pictures of me in the grocery store, like looking at empty shelves and like freaking out and like all this stuff.
Remember how Jeevan's total at the grocery store was $9,000? Kevin did the math and he was like, each shopping cart is like $1,600.
That checks out.
No, it doesn't.
Why not?
Not unless it was like all whiskey.
But also, guys, who care?
I mean, it was like spaghetti and Lucky Charms. There was some liquor in there, but like,
what if it was Whole Foods?
It was not Whole Foods.
$9,000? No,
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy for him. I guess in that situation, you're like, yep, charge it. Bill me later.
I think after episode 1, y'all were keeping an area list of like fake.
Yeah.
Which is what I do with most of the books we read. So.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. There were things I liked about it, but there were just enough like plot contrivances or things that didn't make sense that just like immediately stripped away all the parts. Like I liked the flashback episode for the most part, like where you see the three of them in the apartment, and like right before they leave, where Frank gets killed. Except for like, I would have loved just a regular flashback episode, but the plot contrivance of it's like Kirsten going back and reliving it, yet she knows what happened when she was not there. Like,
I thought about that too.
that like
How does
that
she know
just-
what happened in the room?
Like that just pulled me out of it. So it's like the bad things kind of eclipsed the good things for me a lot of time.
But also it's a fake Kirsten. She's not there. So it,
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought it was
it's-
cool because she was watching, like, it was harming her staying. Like, she was getting more poison up the arm, and she was just like, I have to leave.
Yeah, but I mean, we're supposed to like there's nothing to indicate that this is her imagining what happened. Like, we're supposed to take it as this is what happened.
yeah, but I didn't ever feel like we were watching it through her eyes. So I guess it didn't bother me that they had her present.
Yeah, it's also just
But
so much of it to me was, yeah.
But I also thought about that when I was watching the show. It's like she wasn't in the room, so why? Yeah,
And from the first episode, as a Canadian, it bothered me that they filmed in Ontario but set the show in Chicago.
and it was supposed to be in Toronto.
And it was supposed to be in Toronto. And they filmed it in Mississauga and like around Toronto anyway. They could have just kept it in Toronto.
Yeah, why did they put it in Chicago?
probably because it was cheaper.
Part of the
Did they
book
not have the rights
apparently
to the word Toronto?
part of the book apparently does take
Dragons.
place in Chicago, which I didn't remember.
Who knows? He obviously just made choices to make choices. So,
How dare he make a choice?
I mean, I don't love the idea that someone would make choices for impact rather than story.
Well, no, but that's like all of modern TV. Come on.
Yeah, but you still wanted to make sense in the context of what of the universe you're creating, right?
I guess. I mean, but like, think about every TV show. Like, why is there during Sweep Sweets a gay kiss? Why is there like rape in Game of Thrones?
I'm not saying you never have to make good TV. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily what I'm saying. But if you make those choices, like it's okay to make a choice that's impactful if it makes sense.
It's almost like TV's meant to make money.
Well, that's why I'm not mad about dramatic. I like drama. I like impact. I like to be swept along emotionally. I mean, every Steven Spielberg movie ever made is like he knows exactly how to make a movie to hit your emotions. But I think that I'm going to speak for you. I'm sorry. I think the issue is that he was making these choices and it didn't make sense in the universe, right? So like it wasn't coherent internally, which is a problem.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of like what adaptations I do like, and I'm sure there are a lot, but the two that spring to mind are Watchmen, the HBO Watchmen,
Which is
That's
completely
not the movie.
not the Zack Snyder Watchmen, the HBO Watchmen, because that was a really great continuation of the characters. It got the themes of the comic in the way that Zack Snyder did not at all, and it was emotionally
Movie was so
affecting. It made sense internally, even though there were like things that like the lube alien guy was never really, well, I guess it was kind of explained at the end. That was the other
Lube alien.
yeah, the guy in the silver suit who would like spray lube all over himself and then slide into storm drains.
Jesus Christ! I loved the
People called
Watchmen, and
him-
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, so I thought that was a great adaptation, and Lovecraft Country was very different from the book, but I thought that made very good. There were very big differences, but they were done very well to suit the characters, the overall story, the themes, and it was emotionally well done too.
Did you get mad at the end of Game of Thrones?
No. I don't get mad at anything, though. Like, I literally like almost everything.
Because that's
Well,
that's
you
the one I'm
don't
thinking
like
of.
most of the books we read, though.
Yeah. It's different with movies. I like almost every movie, so.
I honestly, I'm kind of the same. I can usually find something to love in every movie that I watch. I'm more critical with books for whatever reason.
And I don't hate
think I spend
books,
more
I just
time
don't
with
love
them.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
This one's just hard because I really, really love this show and y'all hate it.
I didn't hate it. I loved it. I loved it. I'm just engaging their points.
Yeah, no.
I don't. I'm like so hot and cold with it. Like the stuff that I didn't like, I really, really didn't like, and the stuff that I did, I really, really liked. And the problem for me is that the stuff that I found nonsensical, I thought had pretty simple narrative solutions. So that was frustrating to me that I felt like a lot of this stuff would have been kind of easy to handle differently or treat differently, just a little bit, and that would have made it make more sense. And so that was just frustrating for me. That I thought they were so close to something really good.
I wonder if there was some editing. Like, I wonder if there was some explanation that got cut out, like as an incidental.
Maybe.
Wasn't some of the production halted by COVID? And they had to pick up, and so I don't know if
They
that-
forgot a whole. Maybe there's an
That's so
episode
meta.
missing. Maybe there's an episode missing.
I don't think that would
But-
fix it for them.
Yeah, but yeah, it really was. If it was just like more, if it was worse overall, I probably would have liked it more. Or yeah, because it's there's enough good stuff there that it's just really frustrating when they tank it.
Yeah,
I thought
it
it was
could just be like campy and garbage, and that would be fun too. But it's not. It has a lot of good stuff in it.
It took itself very seriously, so it can't have that. It can't.
I mean,
be.
one of
It
my-
really
yeah.
took itself seriously.
One of my favorite movies is Titanic, so
I love Titanic,
Yeah.
unironically. So I'm with you.
yeah, no, I like it anytime an orchestra swells. I like
Oh yeah,
I like
Girl, I'll
anything
cry,
that deals with
drop of a hat.
with like time and lost loves. I love that shit. So
Selflessness always gets me
I've also never figured out the end to any movie or book we've ever read.
ahead of time.
I just like live in the moment like a goldfish with stuff. So and I just liked being in this world.
Oh, when he blew up, when I said to Kevin, I said, he's going to blow up that airport. And Kevin goes, no. I said, he's going to use his Sega Genesis to blow up the airport. And Kevin was like, no, he's not. And then like 5 minutes later, the Museum of Civilization blew up. And Kevin was like, what?
Well, because the last time you see him up there, he's just like hiding his Atari Lynx, not a Sega Genesis.
I know what it is.
Excuse you, Lori.
I just picked a console that I knew the name of.
I just, but like, where did he get the detonator? Where did he get fuel? How did he program? Like, he programmed the detonation countdown to look like the swirl from the cover of the graphic novel, which is cool. But it's like,
How do you do that?
how did
Yeah.
he do all of this over like what? Yeah, he was only gone as long enough for Kirsten to go find Sarah, and
I also wondered how all the children got so close to the airport when they had like snipers and razor wire and whatnot.
Then you're right, because he hid that thing, right? And then they sort of captured him, but he could clearly get out whenever he wanted. And so he had been running around before he went to get her. So that's a little wrong.
that's true.
I also think that if there were technical answers to this, you still wouldn't like it. So-
I mean, I just like it, like, I don't know. I thought it was weird that he had this magic German satellite Wikipedia machine in the first place, and then that he can also turn it into a detonate.
They'd stolen so many landmines at that point that he could have just I don't know if he had any of the landmines because he's implying that only Haley and the children have them, but he could easily have just thrown a landmine in there.
There were so many intercut flashbacks that they could have intercut how it happened.
Yeah.
But they're just like, no, you just blew up the tower.
Because he got arrested immediately when they got there. They let Kristen out with the symphony and immediately took him into custody because I think they kind of recognized him. And so I thought, didn't they check him for explosives as on top of things and as controlling as they were? I was like, how did he get explosives in there? And then all the kids pop up in the field and I was like, how did that even happen? Because they've got their perimeter, they've got snipers and stuff, don't they?
And then the kids just stay
They
there
did the
for
book.
2 days.
Oh yeah, and then the kids
They don't do anything.
Haley's the only one who shows up with her beacons in her messenger bag, and I was like, "Well, where are all the other ones? How did we tell
And then
them to
there's
stand down?"
thousands as they walk off into the
Yeah,
sunset.
oof. Those kids were spooky.
They were spooky.
I love the conductor. She was my favorite part.
Oh, I screamed with happiness when I saw Lori Petty. I was so
Tank
happy
Girl.
to see her. Oh, okay. Things that made me scream with happiness. Lori Petty and armpit hair. I was so happy about the armpit hair, but then that got dialed back a little bit when Kirsten wore that wet bathing suit for so long. And I was like, no women were no one with a vagina was consulted in this scene because we know we can't just walk around in
You
a wet
gotta take your
bathing
bathing
suit.
suit off when you have the opportunity to do it, so it dries, and you put on some clean
Everyone
dry
always
underwear.
looks so damp. They were always wearing soft sneakers and running through puddles. And I was like, oh my God, everyone has athlete's foot. Everyone has a yeast infection. Everyone itches everywhere. And I was like, good for them that they're having sex all the time. I'm totally fine with that. But also
There's no birth control.
there's no birth control. You can't get cleaned up.
There's no birth control. How are those people having sex all the time and not just having babies left?
Well,
and
I
right?
think at that point, when decimated, is decimated, you want to have babies.
I guess.
Or not working 9-to-5 jobs, being independent women.
Well, yeah, I didn't understand why everyone wasn't pregnant. I mean,
Right.
only we saw the friend Charlie, who's also on Letterkenny, who Kirsten was so mean to for not wanting to have her baby in the back of a horse-drawn van. She was so mean. I understand that Kirsten has these major abandonment issues,
yeah.
but I was like, I just don't think you can be this selfish in the apocalypse.
She was being very.
To me, the only thing that didn't make sense about the show was if it was the apocalypse, I would not stay in the north. It's
Oh, yeah. Let's all head south.
yeah, we're going to Florida where we can grow food year round and not live in fucking Chicago and Michigan. Are you kidding me? Upper Peninsula? No.
Yeah, I think there was an opportunity to show more of how they ate.
I mean, that's what inspired me to start writing. So
8 stayed warm. Because we see them, the symphony, we only see them in the warm weather.
Yeah, no,
I know what they did in the winter.
that was interesting too, because like in Michigan it snows from like October to May, so it's like you get 3
only
months.
doesn't snow in July.
So I would definitely have hightailed it south.
Why do you think that Miranda's boss gave her the secret boat stuff inside a Le Creuset pot?
So that nobody would care about looking in it.
Yeah, so like if she got searched going somewhere, they wouldn't look in like a pot.
I think
She would just be like, this is my casserole.
yeah,
I've got a nice chowder. Don't worry about it.
unknown. Those aren't cheap. So
Yeah.
I don't know where
Oh,
there was just one laying around.
I love the part where he was like, "You're going to be at sea for a year." Whew. If she had made it on the boat, that would have sucked.
Yeah. But she
With
would have
hoops,
survived.
sir. With
The-
hoops.
theoretically, if the boat
Yeah,
remained
yeah.
insulated, then she would have survived.
Yeah.
I was a little mad at her
For falling down.
her arc
Yeah.
with being so attached to Arthur still. I thought that did not make sense with
Oh.
the beginning of their relationship. Because they didn't seem to really get to know each other. Like, we find out later that she was fluent in Spanish and understood his conversations, but like he didn't know that his wife spoke Spanish. And I was like, what did they talk about?
Yeah, no, they had a very weird relationship.
So I was puzzled that, 20 years later, she's like, I left my love and he died. And like, I thought the thing that it was again, with the things that I like and the things that I don't like, her speech was so good and her acting was so good when she was in that meeting and she was like, none of this fucking matters. Like my partner, the person I want to spend my life with is dead and we're all going to die and I hate you. And it was really good. But I was also like, she feels this way about him? I found it surprising.
I think you can feel very connected and love someone a lot, even if your relationship is fraught.
Yeah. And I
Oh,
think
yeah, I didn't believe in their relationship. Like, they got married very quickly. He didn't know anything about her when they were married. So it just seemed to me like
She was very closed off.
an oops first marriage.
And I think when the world's ending, she has the idea, like, maybe I can reconcile. I think it's like when a 19-year-old guy gets married before he goes off to join the Marine Corps. It's like, I just want something to think about and believe in.
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I think part of the problem is I did not like Gael Garcia Bernal. I don't think he's charming in this. I don't think.
Oh, is that Arthur?
Yeah, like that's like Arthur to me was like this like classically trained actor, and this guy just seemed like kind of like a B-lister.
He seemed a little young, too.
Yeah, I mean,
I
he's-
imagined Arthur as a bit older.
Yeah, I mean, this guy was like at least 50, but like he seemed younger. So
He's got that perpetually youthful
Yeah,
face.
he
Gael
just
does.
looks
I
like a
guess
boy.
that is how you be famous. You
Right.
have a perpetually young face.
yeah, I just didn't like him in the role. So
Couple other things, like she burned down the pool house.
She
And then,
sure did.
And then like Lori Petty shot Tobias Funke because he cheated on her. And I was just like, I understand that we're going to have like a lot of lawlessness and violence in the
Pool House happened
post-apocalypse.
before the
Yeah,
apocalypse.
totally. But it was like
Women can't control
these
themselves.
like well, yeah. Yeah, and I didn't like that whole like stereotype of the jilted woman burning down the pool house. And then also like she burned down her entire body of work. And I thought, I guess that's like the smashing the mirror symbolism or something. I don't know, but I just was like, wow, this really sucks and is not okay. And then like Lori Petty shooting Gil, I thought, you can't shoot somebody. You didn't have antibiotics. Like, in the book, Kristen's brother died because he like stepped on a nail or something.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I even feel like Kirsten's tattoos are like, what if, a stick and poke tattoo in the forest in the apocalypse is like maybe not the best idea. So I don't know. I was very bothered by the sort of light treatment of this domestic violence.
Yeah, no, and also Miranda burning down I think it's when you said Miranda burned down the pool house and burned her life's work.
Yeah.
kind of thing. She has a lot of cognitive dissonance around that work because
Yeah.
she knows that it's harmful in a way to her to be
She's
so
an
obsessed
artiste.
with it, but also she can't stop, so I could see her sort of I guess that made sense to me. Like it was a destructive thing to do, but also I understand why she wouldn't.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. Yeah.
Half-formed thought, but
That's a That's definitely a sensible way to see it, I think.
But I also am full of apologetics for this show for some reason.
We're sitting across the table from each other. Anderson's on one side, blonde lady's on the other side. It's brown hairs versus blonde hairs.
That's right. I don't know, guys. Would you survive this particular apocalypse?
Nope.
I would survive.
I have my same answer that I had 2 years ago. Nope.
Well, we survived the one we were in.
That's because I got to work
So
from
far.
home in my living room.
We were very good at isolating.
That's true.
We wore our masks. We
I
got
mean,
our
I've had all the
immunizations.
electricity and fake meats that I need to survive. Like, I've been very fortunate. So,
We are
and also, let us not pretend that this is over.
Fair.
It's over in America. Like everywhere I drive, it's like dining room's back open. Come on in. Masks off, y'all.
That's so weird.
I'm assuming that since we've all had COVID and didn't know it, that if this flu came along, we would be the 1 in 1,000 that didn't die.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I want to live in that professor house on the golf course. Where
Oh,
they're eating
Pinktree?
they're eating MREs
Yeah.
and
Oh,
playing
yeah.
golf and discussing philosophy.
I'd be happy in the airport. They had electricity. They had flushing toilets.
Thank God for Miles.
Guess where you're not getting a yeast infection? The Severn City Airport.
I mean, What's Her
have heat.
Toes had the best hair.
Oh my gosh. She transitioned to post-apocalyptic resort chic so smoothly.
She really did.
She was like, I'm going to take this emergency blanket and put a belt around it.
That's right.
She looked perfect.
That's right. And she went off into the woods with those dirty children and her Jesus son, and I just don't think she's going to look like that
I
in a year.
didn't feel good about it for
I don't
her.
think she's going to look that good in a year.
I didn't feel good about it for her. Was she going to be mothered all those little mercenary
I
babies?
guess so.
Also, how is he? Is plan B? He's going to untrain them to be murderers? Like how? What's the way forward?
I don't know. I guess we need that.
But you know
second
what?
season.
I don't want. I was just about to say I'd prefer to wonder.
I prefer to wonder too. I don't think this one needs another season.
Oh no, it's a limited series for sure.
Okay, good.
Phew.
We would not make y'all watch it. But I think I should watch the Last of Us, which will be good.
I probably will.
It's good. It's got like a buddy cop with a man and a girl, kind of like this, but it's so good.
Good job, guys. We talked for an hour about this.
Yeah, I think
I thought
we're
it was
going
good
for like
minisode.
30 minutes. Yeah. All right. Bye.
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 Bye. Ooh, that movie is so good. I will go see that again.
The Batman?
That movie is so good.
I do want to see that.
It's very long.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.